And welcome to our first edition of Chalk Talk with Broomhead football coach Todd Staley. Well, Todd, it's hard to believe, but another season's getting ready to kick off.
It is hard to believe how time flies. It feels like a day or two ago we were leaving Strom Thurmond, after a pretty good season in the second round of the playoffs.
Got a tough opener, and it's been kind of a traditional game now. Opening it up with York, though, against a good team, new stadium. What can you tell us a little bit about this game?
Yeah, York's got a new football coach. Mike Prost came back to South Carolina from Winston-Salem, where he'd been for 8 years at R.J. Reynolds. They've got a different philosophy. Last couple of years, York's been that smash mouth or option type team. And everything on film shows York being a spread gun team. They're a 3x1, 2x2 team that is pretty good at quarterback. Their quarterback is the son of Bobby Carroll, the head coach at South Point High School. And makes a good decision with the ball. He's a good athlete. He's a kid that we've got to really key on.
Seems like every year to kick off the season, this game has been, come down to maybe a one-possession game or a close game, one big play, kickoff return, extra point. But it always seems to be a close one at first time.
It has, other than 2 years ago when we went up there and we turned it over 8 times. And it's one of those things you want our guys to remember, but you don't want them to. And it's kind of been a catch-22 whether we talk about that. We don't want to make those mistakes, obviously. But it has. The first year we lost on a PAT attempt, 21-20. And then last year it came down to our inability to tackle their tailback. I thought we played well, but if you remember, their tailback had 2 long runs against us for touchdowns that really made the difference.
Last year's team kind of set a milestone there in that you made it to second round of the playoffs, had a good year. You lost some good players off that team, but you got some very talented players coming back too.
Oh, no doubt. We've got 4 young men that have basically played for 4 years for us at some time in the varsity. Some of them have started for 4 years. Obviously, it starts right with Chase Henry, our quarterback, who will be a 3-year starter this year. Just all kinds of ability. I think he's one of the best young talents in this area, and I think he gets overlooked a lot of times. He's about 6 foot, and the colleges now want the 6'3" guy, but a tremendous athlete he is. We've got Nick Crocker, who was a 4-year starter for us. We've got Cameron Lipscomb, who is a 3 or 4 year starter for us, and Brian Foster is a 4-year starter for us too. And so we feel real confidence in those skill positions, the experience they've got, and hopefully those guys are going to be strong leaders for us.
Again, offensively should be explosive. Tell us a little bit about the defense. I know you've got to rebuild some things on defense this year. So who are some guys we can look for on the defensive side?
Well, no doubt with the losses of Shane Petit and Thomas Weeks, those were our 2 main guys that we've got to replace. But we've tried to make those changes. We've got experience at linebacker coming back with Jeremy Woodard. He's just all over the place. He never sits still. If you ever watch him play, he makes almost every tackle on the kickoff for us. Big special team player for us in that regard. But he's a key for us at linebacker. We've got 2 young men who are trying to learn to play the Mike linebacker, and Ethan Bible, and a kid that hadn't played in a couple of years, and Brian Carr. Really big young man that has a lot of potential to play. He's coming back from a year off because of an injury and a shoulder surgery that we're expecting big things from. Up front, we return Brian at nose tackle. We call him Booby, but he's been with us for 3 years. We've got some young people at defensive end, but Daniel Yergin comes back and is going to play some there. In the secondary, we've got a lot of people back. Bryant Foster playing at corner, Cameron Lipscomb playing in the secondary. Chris Corey has made a position switch from corner to free safety. And again, Nick Crocker's got a position back there at his rover position.
Position everybody kind of takes for granted. You had an experienced kicking game at last couple of years, though. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you had to replace your kicking game.
Yeah, Tyler Massey was a big loss for us, but it was funny. We started the first day of practice. We didn't have a kicker. We really didn't have a kicker on the field. And we've got 4 kickers now between our seniors and our freshmen that are all competing for kicking time. We've gotten about 3 soccer players to come out. Luke Clark has come out and tried to kick and punt for us. We returned L.J. Wanamaker, who did some kicking for us at the end of the season. And we'll probably end up doing most of our place kicking. But we're really high on 2 young freshmen. One is Sam Cheshire, and the other is Jess Ramirez. And they are both soccer players. They both got good legs. And don't be surprised if we don't see a freshman kicking on Friday night.
Tell us a little bit about the preseason. I know I've never been one to put a lot of stock in jamborees and all, because those are just kind of glorified dress-up scrimmages and all that. But I think, in your other scrimmages, you really did well, though. But what did you see in the preseason games that you had?
Well, there's no doubt we had some ups and downs as far as scoring would go. But our two scrimmages, I felt really good about the way our offense put some points on the ball and moved it. Our jamboree with Chapman, we looked really explosive at offense again. And our defense didn't do bad. Our defense bent a little bit, but they never did break. Two of those jamborees, one against Kings Mountain, who was a 3A powerhouse in North Carolina, boy, they really smashed at us, and we didn't look as good. But I think that's very important that you play somebody that's better than you early in the season, because it helps you to analyze your weaknesses. If you're just playing everybody that you can beat and hammer, you're either really, really good or you haven't seen the problems that you need to fix. And we felt like playing the Kings Mountain and even the Carolina last Friday night in our own jamboree. It helped expose some things. We came in, well, we stayed late on Friday night and again on Saturday and Sunday, and we fixed some things that we felt like that we need to change to be a better football team.
You've got an interesting schedule this year in that you only have 4 home games, 6 road games. On top of that, you're playing in your region. What are your thoughts going into the season on schedule this year?
Yeah, well, it wasn't really anything we could control. With the new realignment and us being removed from, I call it the I-85 corridor conference, to the I-26 corridor conference with Newberry and Mid-Carolina and Saluda and Emerald and Woodruff, Chesney got moved away from us. Well, they're our closest neighbor. It's a big rivalry game. We wanted to keep them. And since they played here last year, we need to go to their place. Well, the other non-conference games, we also had played here. So York, we had to go away. Chesney became away. Fort Mill became away. And Union became away. So that's 4 non-conference games away. And to find a replacement for the long trip to Charleston, Hanahan, Seneca agreed to play us. And we said, look, you've got to come to us at least the first year. So in our first 5 games, it only gives us 1 home game. When we went to our new conference and they began to do the schedule, we said, now look, there's going to be an odd number of games. There's only going to be 5. We've got to have 3 home games at least this year to offset our 1 home non-conference game. So it's just the way it worked out. Wasn't anything we could do about it. We tried to get some other team non-conference to play us. They didn't want to, and that's just the way it is. So we'll play 4 home games this year. We'll play 6 next year, and then we'll see what happens.
Going into tonight's ball game, again, York, Broome, been a good battle first game of the season. What do you see as being the keys for tonight on offense, defense, and special teams?
Yeah, I still go back to what we've been trying to do since late last year and really going into this season, our ability to run the football. We don't want to be a team that's going to have to sit back and throw it 40 times a game. We want to establish our running game. We're a run option team. If we can establish our option game, then we think we've got a great chance to run the football on them. And a lot of it has to do with how well we do up front. We feel confident that our offensive line can do the job for us, and they're going to determine that success. If we can get the ball on the perimeter to the likes of a Cameron Lipscomb or a Nick Crocker, then it opens up the game for us. Obviously, our defense cannot give up big plays. I think our defense can stay on the field and play, even if it's 10-play drives and they're moving the ball. If we're not giving up easy points to them and we're making them earn them, then we've got a chance in the game.
Well, we did not graduate anybody off our broadcast crew. We've got a 3-man crew coming back this year. We're very excited to come back and work with you again this year, and we're looking forward to a very exciting season.
Well, thank you, Coach. We're looking forward to it, too.
Thank you.